What's up guys, Strike Entertainment back again with another video. Today I decided I wanted to do a Q&A video. Some of the frequently asked questions that you guys ask us either on the comments or on DMs or anything like that on our Instagram. And I figured it'd be something interesting for you guys to kind of learn about us. So just to kind of get started is, how did you and Garrett meet? So if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, Garrett is the partner in the Strike Entertainment. So you guys have seen numerous videos. He's the one who primarily edits a lot of the gameplay. So you guys will know who he is. Anyway, Garrett and I met back in about mid-July at UBG, which is one of our main fields we play at up in Bridgewater, Mass. I ended up going with my friend Jathan. I had never played at UBG before, and Garrett and his friend John just so happened to be there. And it was all by chance, really. Jathan and I had to move tables from where we were set it up because it was really getting hot and we wanted to stay in the shade. And where we ended up putting our stuff down was right next to Garrett and John. And so, him and I, we just kind of started talking just randomly. We were playing games. We ended up going out to get food, the four of us together, just because we wanted to eat instead of going to play a couple of games at UBG. And then we just kind of hit it off. We became friends, and then I realized that Garrett was a very talented video editor and cinematographer, and also photographer as well, because he brought his nice camera to take pictures of a paintball event that was going on there. And so I realized that would be really kind of cool. He's got an interest in playing Airsoft. He can edit really, really well. This is a good opportunity. So I reached out to him. I brought the idea on, and we decided, and I didn't even know that at the point, that he had actually already had his own YouTube, but he was having trouble, doing stuff with it. So I decided, let's merge, bring that stuff together. And so that's exactly what we ended up doing. We came together, we did our first official video we put out on July 29th, and the Strike Entertainment brand was actually made on July 28th. So that's kind of really how we met, and now we've been doing this for what, 2.5, 3 months, give or take, and things couldn't be going better. So yeah, that's kind of just how we ended up meeting, and we're going strong with this. We're enjoying it. We're making the most of it going through college. So the next question is, what made you start doing YouTube? So this is kind of an interesting question, because I remember when I started playing Airsoft years ago, not in any sort of serious sense, but just for entertainment, with friends in the backyard. I always told myself, because I watched stuff on YouTube, I'm not going to start filming, it takes the fun out of the game, it's too complicated. I had seen advice you gotta worry about cameras,
watch your back, there's someone behind us,
all that stuff. So it was I'm never going to get into that. Well, that obviously all changed last October. For my 18th birthday, I ended up asking for a GoPro, because I knew I had been playing Airsoft, in a somewhat serious sense for over a year at that point, and I realized, hey, I'm not actually that bad at this. This would be kind of fun to, record what I do. And it was mainly just to kind of show, my family, what I did. And so I ended up getting a GoPro. And then I realized, hey, this might be actually kind of cool to put up on YouTube. And I just kind of did that. And I realized this might not be as bad. This isn't as difficult as I maybe had thought. And I mean, I'm not running as many cameras. I wasn't running as many cameras as I am now. I mean, at this point, the plan is to almost have 3 cameras on us, and I was only running 1 helmet cam. So it's a little bit different now. But that's kind of just what I started. So I, did that. And as naturally now as I'm talking about it, made me realize Airsoft wasn't really what I started doing YouTube in, really. I mean, I kind of focused on just the Airsoft part of YouTube. I had actually had YouTube created back, even if you look on my channel, it was created Christmas Day of 2014, which I didn't even really realize. And I actually ended up uploading old Battlefield 4 videos, which I've actually deleted. You're not going to find those anymore on the channel, but it was stuff I would take from my Xbox that my brother and I would do. We would create, kind of Battlefield montages of stuff, and I wish I had that footage still somewhere. I had saved it. I've taken it down, but that's kind of how I started it. it was just for fun, really. That's really how a lot of this starts, is it's just for fun. But that's, I guess, how I technically started it. I don't really count that because it wasn't for anything serious. It was just kind of tossing up for fun. But if you want to know like why I started doing YouTube, was Airsoft, and that's kind of how it started. So this kind of then transitions right into the next question, and it was, how long have you been playing Airsoft seriously? And so I break this up into two different kind of parts or sections, because, you know, I saw it as I played Airsoft, just played it for fun, recreation. It was a different time than when I played seriously. So I started playing, like the first time I really shot an Airsoft gun was, you know, the old kind of crappy guns you'd get from Dick's Sporting Goods, you know, in your backyard. It was just something we would kind of goof off with, and that was back in like 2nd grade. We didn't end up actually like shooting anything. It was more just kind of like running around the backyard playing army, you know, toy soldier type stuff, you know, your typical kid type things. And so that was really kind of when that started. And then I was playing around the backyard with my friends when I was back in, I don't know, like 7th grade, and then 8th grade came around. And I remember going to one of my friends' houses, and we kind of brought all of our gear, and that was the first time I realized, you know, everyone else, like I thought I was like really equipped, and I was in like some basic BDUs, a hat, you know, goggles, and like a cheap airsoft gun. It was from Dick's Sporting Goods. It was like $60, and I show up and my friends are walking in with, you know, your, I don't even know, like $200-300 guns and setups and all this stuff, and I realized, I'm like, whoa, like this is very different than what I was expecting. So that's kind of when I actually got into the sport. I ended up buying a lot of gear and didn't do the research, and that was kind of a big mistake. You know, that's one of my biggest advice that I could give to anyone who's getting into the sport, is try it out first and play a few games before you actually decide to invest. I had never gone out and actually played at a real field before. I ended up buying gear, and that was, I cost myself a couple $100. I got some really kind of so-so gear. I mean, I still have most of it, but it's nothing I would really use to be in an effective or competitive style. It was an old VSC, or not VSC, excuse me, Lancer Tactical. I think it was like LTO2. It was, you know, plastic polymer kind of mixed gun. It was just your very standard beginner gun. And if I realized I was getting into it seriously, I probably should have put more money into it instead of wasting it. So that was really that. And then when I got into it seriously was this would be my 3rd year technically playing seriously. I bought my old I bought the VSC that you guys have seen in numerous videos, the Avalon. I got that off of eBay. I knew that was a gun that I wanted because when I went to Extreme Airsoft, which is a place in Warwick, Rhode Island, or sorry, not Warwick, Wakefield. There was one of the guns that was on the shelf, and it was right around, I think right around this time, actually 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I had seen the gun on the shelf, and it was one of the Gen 2s. It was the bronze version. It was the SBR. It was M-Lock. I'm like, yo, like this is what I want. It was hefty, and it was full metal construction. It shot well. It was fast. Like it had everything I wanted. And I'm like, well, then it's gonna cost me a lot of money to try and accessorize it and all that stuff. And so I went on eBay and I found the gun that I wanted, the Avalon that I wanted in black, pre-accessorized with the built-in with the suppressor, a grip, and all that, and then, which is what I kind of wanted to go for. And then I had a light and pec box and sights already on the way from Amazon. I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. So I bought it, I tested it, whatever, went out on the field that, you know, that 2 weeks afterwards, after doing that, and I loved it. And that's really how this all started. I did that for a year, enjoyed playing. Following year came in my senior year, got the GoPro going, and then, you know, look where we're at. Next question is, what is your favorite airsoft moment? So that's kind of a tough one, because like I said, I've been doing this now for 3 years, so there's a lot of different moments, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in that time I've played a lot of games. I've met a lot of awesome, very interesting people. I've had a blast. But probably some of my favorite moments was probably when I was playing at Troy last year. Just because, I mean, I prefer playing indoor, I prefer playing CQB. It's more action, it's high paced. I'm not really afraid to get shot at or get hit, so I enjoy it. Some of my favorite moments were just like those like really quick kill streaks that you would get, you know, the flanks, you'd get behind everybody and just, you know, take everybody out. There's one moment particularly that I remember. I was playing in a 1v3 against some of these kids that I met, and I remember he was sitting behind a barrier, and so I had an idea of where he was, and I just took off on a full-on sprint and bolted and just kind of slid on the ground and came around the corner and just took one round and just nailed him right in the chest. And I remember I'm like, that was really, really cool. That was just one of the moments that stood out. I remember doing it was a moment right out of the gate. It was a Ares Amoeba CQB. It was a friend's gun that it was let me borrow, and it was right off the bat. I dropped like 5 people in the span of like 10 seconds. Just a quick, and that was like, oh, that was such a fun moment. So there's a bunch. Those are just the ones that kind of stick out and I remember personally. But I've had a great time with a lot of, you know, different people. It's just been an experience. My goal is to hopefully, as this hopefully grows the YouTube, that I can kind of go out and do more kind of like what Dutch and Jet does, where I can kind of go travel a little bit more. I've always wanted to go and travel more with the East Coast. I mean, now that I'm in college and I'm living in Florida, I've looked at some of the fields that are around here, so I might actually be doing that in spring. Is I'll be bringing the gear. I'll be bringing my gear down in the spring semester to play about 30 minutes up the road to play Airsoft, so I can actually bring you guys content while I'm in college, which is important. But just, you know, getting to experience different fields, different people, environments, and play styles is really what I want to do. And so yeah, that's honestly what the plan is. Finally, the last question is, and this doesn't come up as frequently, but this was always a question I would look for when I was watching anyone, regardless of Airsoft or just YouTube in general, is what do we use to edit? So Garrett and I use different editing programs. Garrett uses Adobe Premiere, so he uses that, and I use Final Cut Pro. Final Cut was just because when I started doing editing, I didn't have Final Cut for, I've only had it for maybe 6 or 7 months. But when I started doing this, I was using just iMovie. I literally would edit on iMovie. I would pull stuff in, just do some basic, you know, editing, graphics, whatever, and that would be that. And so I moved over to Final Cut Pro because from some of the reviews I used, Final Cut Pro is just iMovie's big brother. And so it was just an easier transition. I'd used Premiere in school for my video broadcast class, and I just didn't like it as much. I was already had built kind of like, you know, bad habits from using Final Cut, so I didn't know where everything was. So I just kind of stuck with what I knew, and that's kind of why I stuck with Final Cut Pro. Garrett uses Premiere. I think honestly Premiere has a little bit more of an option when it comes to doing more fancy, like fancy graphic stuff. Like when it comes to montages, he's definitely going to be doing the montage because of the transitions and the filters that you can use. It can look a little bit more sharp and presentable, whereas Final Cut is more for just like this type of video where it's not supposed to be designed to be as flashy. Premiere seems to be a lot more of a flashy type design for an editing, but that's just my own personal opinions. And you know, people have their own, which is to be expected. Everyone's gonna have their own opinion. But other than that, that's really it. If you guys have any other questions that you guys would like to know about, feel free to drop them in the comments, and we can answer them. We try to reply to the comments that we feel are necessary to reply to, but we read all of them. We really do. We read all the comments that come in. And so yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them, and you know, we'll reply to them in the best way we can. Other than that, that's really it. And you know, we're gonna keep plugging along. We go home in 4 weeks, which means there's a lot of really interesting content coming. Really, really excited, and you know, that's really it. So, and we're gonna see you guys in the next one. Cheers.